You ever hear that crazy stat? Like, the top 1% of the world holds more wealth than the bottom 90% combined? It's wild, right? But what's even crazier is that while some people are out there building empires, millions are stuck in poverty. And I'm not just talking about a lack of money, I'm talking about a poverty of ambition, a poverty of spirit. It makes you wonder, why do some people seem to prefer staying in a terrible environment? Why do they choose to stay broke? The truth is, poverty is a complex issue. It's easy to point fingers and say, just work harder, but it's not always that simple. There are systemic barriers, societal pressures, and deeply ingrained beliefs that can keep people trapped in a cycle of poverty. But here's the thing. Even in the face of all that, we have a choice. We're diving deep into the 12 stupid reasons people stay poor, and trust me, this is gonna be good. First up, let's talk about mindset. You've heard it a million times. Mindset is everything. Well, guess what? It's true, especially when it comes to money. If you go through life believing that you're destined to be poor, that wealth is only for other people, then guess what? You're absolutely right, you're literally programming your brain for failure. Life can throw you some curveballs. Maybe you grew up without much, maybe you've had some bad breaks. But here's the thing. Your past doesn't have to define your future. You have the power to change your story, but it all starts with changing your mindset. You gotta ditch the scarcity mentality that there's not enough to go around bullshit. Start believing in abundance, in the power of possibility. Instead of thinking, I can't afford that, ask yourself, how can I afford that? It's a subtle shift, but it can make all the difference. Remember, your thoughts become your reality. Let's talk about fear, baby. Fear is the ultimate dream killer. It keeps us stuck in our comfort zones, even when those comfort zones are, frankly, pretty damn uncomfortable. Change is scary. Taking risks can feel terrifying. But you know what's even scarier? Waking up 5, 10, 20 years from now, stuck in the exact same place, filled with regret for all the chances you didn't take. If you want something you've never had, you're gonna have to do something you've never done. Yeah, you might stumble, you might fall flat on your face, but you know what? That's okay. Failure is just a stepping stone to success. So, what are you afraid of? What's the worst that could happen? Seriously, think about it. Let's talk about culture, baby. No, not the kind with museums and operas. I'm talking about the beliefs, the values, the unspoken rules that get passed down from generation to generation. And let me tell you, sometimes those beliefs can be toxic as hell, especially when it comes to money. How many of you grew up hearing things like, money is the root of all evil, or rich people are all greedy? These messages, even if they're well-intentioned, can create a subconscious belief that wealth is bad, that it's something to be ashamed of. And then there's the whole keeping up with the Joneses mentality. We start spending money, we don't have to impress people we don't even like, all in the name of fitting in. Challenge those beliefs. Question everything. Chapter 4. Influence. Are your friends holding you back? You know that saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with? Well, it's true, especially when it comes to your finances. If you're surrounded by people who are constantly broke, who are always complaining about money, guess what? You're gonna start adopting those same beliefs and behaviors. It's like a disease, this poverty mentality. It spreads like wildfire, and before you know it, you're caught in the same trap. Now, I'm not saying you have to ditch your friends if they're not rolling in dough, but you do need to be mindful of the energy you're surrounding yourself with. Seek out people who are ambitious, who are driven, who are committed to financial growth, because trust me, their energy will rub off on you. Chapter 5. Systematic barriers. The unfair advantages. Keeping people trapped. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the systemic barriers that make it damn near impossible for some people to break free from poverty. We're talking about a system that's rigged against the poor, a system that perpetuates a cycle of poverty generation after generation. Things like limited access to quality education, lack of affordable housing, discriminatory lending practices. These are just a few examples of the systemic barriers that keep people trapped in a cycle of poverty. And it's on all of us to fight for a more just and equitable society, a society where everyone has the opportunity to succeed, regardless of their zip code or their skin color. Chapter 6. Lack of education. Knowledge is power. Don't be afraid to learn. Education is not just about getting a fancy degree. It's about empowering yourself with knowledge, with the tools you need to navigate this crazy thing called life. And when it comes to money, knowledge is power. Unfortunately, access to quality education is not a given. Millions of people around the world lack access to basic education, let alone financial literacy programs. And without this knowledge, it's easy to make poor financial decisions, to fall prey to predatory lenders, to get stuck in a cycle of debt. But here's the good news. We live in the information age. Knowledge is literally at our fingertips. There are countless books, articles, podcasts, YouTube channels like this one, dedicated to financial literacy. So, what are you waiting for? Start educating yourself. Chapter 7. We talked about fear of change earlier, but this goes beyond that. This is about getting too comfortable with where you are, even if it sucks. It's about accepting mediocrity, settling for less than you deserve. Change can be scary. It's easy to get stuck in a rut, to convince yourself that this is as good as it gets. But here's the thing. You are capable of so much more than you give yourself credit for. Don't let fear hold you back from greatness. Embrace the unknown. Chapter 8. Have you ever heard the phrase, "You can't be what you can't see"? It's true, especially when it comes to money. If you've never been exposed to financial success, if you've never had anyone to show you that it's possible to break free from poverty, it's easy to believe that it's not an option for you. But here's the thing. You don't need to have millionaires in your immediate circle to find role models. Look for inspiration in books, in movies, in the stories of successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. And even more importantly, become your own role model. Chapter 9. We live in a world of instant gratification. Want something? Order it online, and it'll be at your doorstep tomorrow. But this constant need for instant gratification is killing our ability to think long-term, to delay gratification, to make sacrifices in the present for a better future. And nowhere is this more evident than in our finances. We want the fancy car, the designer clothes, the latest gadgets, and we want them now. Breaking free from poverty requires a shift in mindset, a willingness to delay gratification, to make sacrifices in the present for a better future. Chapter 10. Dependency. Why relying on others keeps you stuck. Look, I'm all for helping those in need, but there's a difference between lending a helping hand and creating a culture of dependency. When people become reliant on government assistance, on handouts from family and friends, it can create a sense of learned helplessness, a belief that they're incapable of taking care of themselves. The goal should always be to empower people to become self-sufficient. Chapter 11. Lack of financial literacy. Don't be a financial dummy. Let's be honest, most people are clueless when it comes to money. They don't understand basic financial concepts like budgeting, saving, investing. They live paycheck to paycheck, drowning in debt, with no plan for the future. This lack of financial literacy is a major contributing factor to poverty. When you don't understand how money works, you're more likely to make poor financial decisions. But here's the thing. Financial literacy is not rocket science. There are countless resources available to help you learn the basics of personal finance. Chapter 12. Psychological and emotional factors, the invisible chains holding you back. Here's the thing about poverty. It's not just about a lack of money, it's about a poverty of spirit, a sense of hopelessness, a belief that things will never get better. It's about the psychological and emotional scars that poverty leaves behind, the trauma, the stress, the anxiety. Growing up in poverty can have a profound impact on a child's development. And then there's the stigma associated with poverty, the shame, the embarrassment, the feeling of being judged and looked down upon. Outro, break the cycle. You have the power to choose wealth. So there you have it, 12 stupid reasons people stay poor. We talked about mindset, fear of change, cultural influences, lack of education, the comfort zone trap, and so much more. But the most important takeaway is this. Poverty is a complex issue with no easy solutions. It starts with understanding the factors that contribute to poverty, both individual and systemic. What are your thoughts on these 12 reasons? Have you experienced any of them firsthand? Share your experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more videos on personal finance, entrepreneurship, and living your best life.